finished third and top rookie yesterday. Will he make it 2 podiums from his visit to Belgium? The championship leader, Harrison Scott for RP Motorsport, lines up in 6th place. It's the first time this season that Harrison Scott's been a little bit lower down the grid. Here's how they line up in full then, with Nikita Troitsky, Yanis Vitia on the front row, then Amaya Weidenathan and Matthias Yorio row 2. So 4 different teams represented in the front 2 rows. Then Devlin DeFrancesco and Harrison Scott on row 3, ahead of Thiago Vivacqua and Alex Karkozik. Taryn Reddy and Christian Hahn completing the top 10, ahead of an all-Teo Marti Motorsport row 6, Eliseo Martinez Morono and Pedro Cardoso. Petru Florescu had early adventures in qualifying. He lines up in 13th, clear of Lodovico Larini, then Daniel Pranenko and Alexei Chuklin on the 8th row of the field, and it is Simo Laxonen for Campos who completes the pack. But the conditions for the race today very, very different for those that we enjoyed or endured in qualifying earlier on this morning. So we could be in for a lot of entertainment over the next 13 laps. Although, as ever, if we do have a lengthy safety car period, then that would revert to 35 minutes. So the cars formed up on the grid, ready for their formation lap. We'll then bring him back for the start of the 4th race of the season. So far this year, we've had just 2 winners in the form of Harrison Scott, both wins in Estoril, and then Amaya Weidenathan yesterday. Will we see a new face on the top step of the rostrum, or will it be Weidenathan and Scott once more? You can see the heat haze shimmering off the cars. The DriveX team, John from the pit box. They've got Nikita Troitsky in pole position, his teammate Christian Hahn well up in 10th place as they head off on their final inspection of the 7-kilometre Spa-Francorchamps circuit. If you're new to the Euroformula Open, of course, should explain that this is essentially a Formula 3 championship. All the drivers equipped with the Dallara F312 chassis. They run with a control engine supplied by the championship promoters GT Sport. Also provide a number of the other control components of the car, and they run on a Michelin tyre, which has produced some great racing over the course of the past couple of seasons. As they climb out of Eau Rouge and then through Radion down this endless Kemmel straight, Troitsky is weaving around, getting a little bit of heat into the tyres, and so far this season it's been a reasonably successful one for Troitsky. Retired in the first race at Estoril, finished 2nd in race 2, and then just off the podium in 4th yesterday, despite applying race-long pressure to Devlin DeFrancesco. Yanis Vitia, well, he had 2 4th place finishes in Estoril, but then really faded as yesterday's race unfolded. The good news, at least for these Euroformula Open drivers, is that the weather forecast, which was initially for thunderstorms during the course of the afternoon, now is suggesting the rain, if it does arrive, is going to come certainly well after the checkered flag has fallen in this race. So the field stream down through Pouhon, caught out several drivers yesterday, most notably Matthias Yorio, and then in towards Fania. So there's race 1 winner Weidenathan, the blue Carling car, and championship leader Harrison Scott, the RP Motorsport car like that of his teammate Alex Karkozik. Karkozik again having a frustrating first lap yesterday when he ran wide at Radion. The car launched into the air, it landed fortunately without any terminal damage, but with enough of a bump that it possibly affected his race pace thereafter. Field then accelerating out of Stavelot, this long blast back towards the pits towards Blanchimont, and then the bus stop chicane section of circuit, now of course permanent track, but until fairly recently part of the original road course layout that formed the old Spa-Francorchamps. The layout they race on now is effectively the same as it has been for the last 30 or so years, with the loop through Pouhon introduced when the old course was deemed a little bit too dangerous to keep racing on. So Troitsky backing the field up. The Russian driver we saw a couple of times last season in the Euroformula Open, also campaigning in the Formula Renault Euro Cup. the 18-year-old Russian. He's had great qualifying pace all year. It's just, can he translate it into a race victory? The challenge here at Spa, talking to some of the drivers, is that actually from pole position, you don't necessarily want to be leading out of Raidillon for the first time, because others will be able to tow their way past. So that potentially presents a little bit of a challenge as well. So the field come through the bus stop chicane. Some accident at the back of the pack as they then form up side by side on the grid. It's the blue nose cone Drivex car of Nikita Troitsky, the red and white Fortec car of Janis Fitcher, alongside them the all royal blue car of Amaya Weidenuythen, and Mateus Iorio in the red and white Campos entry. Daniel Pronenko rolls to halt in his BVM car. So the Simo Laaksonen. So the signal is given. We're about to go racing for the 4th time this season in the Euroformula Open. It's always good fun here at Spa. What will the next 13 laps bring us? And away we go. And it's not a brilliant getaway from Troitsky. It's a very well anticipated start from Amaya Weidenuythen. And it's Weidenuythen who splits the front row and attempts to lead into La Source for the first time. But Troitsky just about prevails. Everybody cleanly through. 1 or 2 run wide as they sprint down towards Eau Rouge for the first time. It's Troitsky from Weidenuythen, then Mateus Iorio with Devlin De Francesco just behind. And so it's Janis Fitcher who's really lost out. Harrison Scott forcing his way through past Thiago Vivacqua as they climb out of Raidillon and onto the Kemmel Straight for the first time. Everybody jinky and jostling for position. This is a little bit wild. Troitsky covers the inside line. Weidenuythen to the middle. Iorio to the outside. Janis Fitcher launches to the inside. This is anybody's corner, and it's going to be Weidenuythen from De Francesco. And then Mateus Iorio, or is it? It's Janis Fitcher who will take the place. As early leader, Nikita Troitsky, exactly as we said, leading down the Kemmel Straight for the first time. He gets shuffled back into 5th. Harrison Scott in 6th from Thiago Vivacqua, and then Tarun Reddy. So the 2 Carlin drivers swooping downhill, trying to build their buffer early on. Lexi Chukden also looking to make a little bit of ground there in the second of the Fortec cars, trying to pick his way past Christian Hahn into Pouon. Pedro Cardoso challenging Tarun Reddy. It's already Weidenuythen trying to stretch his legs at the front of the field. This is the man who's looking to try and make the move. Harrison Scott in 6th place behind Mateus Iorio and the championship leader. You can see Weidenuythen already with a fairly handy advantage. Running wide in the background is Petru Florescu. The Romanian rejoins, just in the path of the Brazilian Christian Hahn. Field blast out of Stavelot in towards Blanchimont, and for Amaya Weidenuythen it was a big hit at the end of qualifying. The work the Carlin team have done, it's clearly been very, very successful. He leads Devlin De Francesco by over a second as they conclude the second sector, as Harrison Scott looks to try and line up the move on Mateus Iorio. Looks to the outside of the reigning Brazilian Formula 3 champion. Iorio though covers his line. No way through there for Scott, no way through either for Christian Hahn. Pack blast through. Harrison Scott now looks to challenge the Campos car to the inside into La Source and goes through. So that's up to 5th place for Harrison Scott. His next target is Nikita Troitsky in 4th. Already Weidenuythen with reasonably handy buffer. We've had a double winner in the first meeting here at Estra in the form of Harrison Scott. Will we get a double winner this afternoon here in Spa? It's Karkozik pursues Cardoso. A pair of them have been locked in battle seemingly all weekend. We've also got a potential challenge for 3rd. Janis Fitcher covers the inside line. Looking to the outside is Nikita Troitsky in the Drivex entrance. Swoops around. Does he claim 3rd? He's going to run out of road on the exit. Just about. Almost open the door to Harrison Scott to try and sneak past as well as they plunge downhill towards Bruxelles. And Scott really being very aggressive, trying to make these moves in the early laps. He knows that's his best chance of fighting through to a podium position. Front of the pack, Weidenuythen and De Francesco breaking away from Nikita Troitsky. Meanwhile, Thiago Vivacqua, Mateus Iorio side by side towards Pouon. It's decided in favour of Iorio. They have then got Tarun Reddy, the 3rd of the Campos cars, closing up onto their tail. Brazilian Brazilians swoop through Fania. Then Reddy just behind them, then a little bit of a gap in the traffic. Back to Pedro Cardoso. Out of Stavolo, run towards Blanchimont. Now the battle to watch for, I think, is the one for 4th and 5th, because Harrison Scott's got a pretty good run here on Yannis Fitcher. There you go. The red and white Fortec car with the RP Motorsport machine just by them, and Scott goes for a move to the outside of Blanchimont. That's absolutely brilliant from Harrison Scott. Beautifully executed. Wonderful, wonderful pass. He had the toe on the way into Blanchimont and really went for a very, very brave manoeuvre. As Iorio and Vivacqua go side by side through the bus stop chicane, it's still Iorio who retains the place. As Weidenauth and De Francesco, not much between them. Now Nikita Troitsky about to come under pressure from Harrison Scott fairly shortly. And this Fitcher drops to 5th. Iorio still in 6th, just from Vivacqua 7th. Terry Reddy in 8th, not too far back. So the fight for 3rd plunges down towards Eau Rouge. Surely Scott's not going to go for the pass at Eau Rouge. He's not. He almost has to back out the throttle as they climb out of Radion. And this should be relatively straightforward for Harrison Scott, as he draws alongside Troitsky very early on the Kemmel Straight. Also looking to challenge is Devlin De Francesco on the Mayor Weidenauth for the lead of the race, and De Francesco looks the outside of his teammate. They go through, oh, and around goes Weidenauth. He tried to defend the place from De Francesco, and he spins down to 4th position as Troitsky shuts the door on him. Disaster for the Indian. Great move for Devlin De Francesco. Toughed it out around the outside line at Les Combes. Weidenauth pushed just a little bit too hard. So the order now, Devlin De Francesco from Harrison Scott, then Nikita Troitsky from Amir Weidenauth, Yannis Fitcher, Thiago Vivacqua, and the rest of them. The question now, of course, being whether or not Harrison Scott can chase down De Francesco. Vivacqua, having made the move on Matheus Iorio, immediately trying to close up to Fitcher and Weidenauth. So there is Amir Weidenauth. He'll be trying to regroup, come back at Nikita Troitsky. Here is replay. This is further back. That's Petru Florescu on the first lap, having a bumpy ride in the Campos car. This then moved the lead, and Weidenauth just a little bit too tight the way through Les Combes, and you just saw the aerodynamic grip suddenly breaking away from the Carlin car, and that's what pitched him into the spin. But a very cool head from Weidenauth, immediately into recovery mode and getting back up to speed. Now Thiago Vivacqua looking to challenge the Fortec car, Fitcher into bus stop chicane. The German flings it sideways. That might give Vivacqua the opportunity to challenge as they head towards La Source. Can't quite do it, but he should be able to get a good run as they come out of Radion. Now the gap between Devlin De Francesco and Harrison Scott, 1.9 seconds at the end of the 3rd lap of the race. Let's see how that changes over the course of this 4th lap of the race. Scott setting the fastest lap as well last time around. That was slightly toe assisted. Meanwhile, here comes Thiago Vivacqua, also potentially looking to make a move. In the foreground is Amir Weidenauth, and he forces Nikita Troitsky to go defensive. Weidenauth looks to the outside. Troitsky covers the inside, does the job. Vivacqua moves clear of Yannis Fitcher. So this is the fight for 3rd and 4th. Front of the field, Harrison Scott taking 3/10 out of Devlin De Francesco through the 1st sector, so that's going to be worth monitoring. Is the moment where it all went a little bit sideways. Yannis Fitcher well recovered. You could see him fully focused on the corner exit even as the car was sliding underneath him, and that's a big spin for Christian Hahn up at Les Combes, well avoided from Eliseo Martinez Morono. This has been a good lap from Troitsky. I think he's got a car that's very well set up through this middle sector of the lap, then possibly gives away something along the straights. What about the tussle between Scott and De Francesco? It's 1.5 seconds at the end of sector 1. It's down to 1.2 seconds at the end of sector 2. So again, Harrison Scott, he just sets the fastest middle sector of the race so far as he pursues Devlin De Francesco. De Francesco, 3 times a winner, en route to 5th in the British Formula 4 Championship last year. But he's going to have his working out, one would suspect. Meanwhile, Amaya Weidenathan also with a good run on Nikita Troitsky. Troitsky, though, holds his line as they come out of the bus stop chicane in towards La Source for the 5th time of asking. Nobody making the move into the hairpin. It's all going to be about the run down Radion now. Harrison Scott setting another fastest lap of the race. He was 9/10 quicker than the race leader Devlin DeFrancesco. Meanwhile, Amaya Weidenathan looking to line up another good move here on Nikita Troitsky as they come out of Radion. And again, the Russian is going to have to get his defending boots on as he covers the inside line. So does Devlin DeFrancesco. Troitsky can take the middle of the road as Weidenathan bobs and weaves behind. Scott does the same to Francesco, and Weidenathan swoops through into 3rd. Troitsky tries to fight back, taking that wider line through Les Combes, but it immediately places him into the clutches of Thiago Vivacqua, the red and white Campos car just behind him, which now becomes the fight for 4th and 5th. So Nikita Troitsky's tenure on the podium, relatively brief one, as Vivacqua seesaws at the wheel as they swing down through the left-hander on towards Pouhon. Amaya Weidenathan now he's clear of Troitsky, is breaking away. The battle, though, front of the field, there it is. Harrison Scott in pursuit of Devlin DeFrancesco. Then a big gap over 3 seconds back to Amaya Weidenathan, who returns to podium contention. Weidenathan trying to already build that buffer over Troitsky, but now Troitsky, next time around, he's going to have the advantage of Weidenathan punching the hole through the air. Here you see how it all started. Weidenathan had a great run coming out of Radion down the Kemmel straight. There's not really a lot Troitsky could do. He just held his line, was a sitting duck, and then by the time that Weidenathan was through, there's nothing the Russian could do to make the pass back. Very well executed move. The Carlin Motorsport team agree, as you would have expected, as now here's the fight for the lead. Devlin DeFrancesco, the blue Carlin car, the RP Motorsport entry of Harrison Scott. Scott pursuing his 3rd victory of the season, DeFrancesco his 1st. Now is Harrison Scott going to be close enough to have a run down the Kemmel straight? That is the question. Vivacqua arguably close enough to challenge Troitsky as they arrive into the hairpin at La Source. Down towards Eau Rouge. And Vivacqua should have a run here on Nikita Troitsky. But what about the fight for the lead of the race? That's the shot we'll see as they swing on to Kemmel straight. Here it is, it's side by side. And Harrison Scott takes the lead away from Devlin DeFrancesco. But the Canadian might be able to fight back as they get on the brakes into Les Combes. Thinks better of it, swings in behind Harrison Scott. So it's advantage Scott. Fantastic opening phase of the race. We're only on lap 6. And Scott, who started in 6th place, already in the lead, and will now do everything he can to pull clear of Devlin DeFrancesco through this middle sector. Kick through the left hand with no name. The road running downhill all the while. And then towards Pouhon. And you can see the rate of capture really for Harrison Scott. There wasn't a huge amount that DeFrancesco could do. Canadian also just running a little bit to the periphery of the circuit through Pouhon. It buys a 10th or 2 for Scott. Meanwhile, behind you can see Thiago Vivacqua sealed the deal, made the move on Nikita Troitsky, and is now off in pursuit of Amaya Weidenathan. So impressive stuff from the Brazilian, who was on the rostrum in the 2nd race of the season in Estoril. What can Thiago Vivacqua do? It's not quite close enough to Weidenathan to challenge along the back stretch, as Harrison Scott has absolutely detonated the challenge of Devlin DeFrancesco. Really impressive lap from Harrison Scott. He builds a lead of 1.1 seconds as they cross the line to go into lap 7. It's not quite yet at half race distance. Francesco now needs to try and take advantage of any toe that he can get from Harrison Scott. There is Amir Vaidyanathan, Thiago Vivacqua, 1.3 seconds adrift of the Indian. Scott makes it look so smooth and straightforward through Eau Rouge, climbing out over Radion, and certainly De Francesco, he's not going to be able to challenge this time into Les Combes. Might buy himself a tenth or two, but no more than that. Find out the gap between them as they break the beat at the end of this first sector. Yeah, it comes down by 4/10, but no particular threat whatsoever to Harrison Scott. And Scott's amazingly setting the fast lap of the race as well last time around in a lap where he completes an overtake. Thiago Vivacqua trying to chase down Amir Vaidyanathan. The other battle that's very close is Mateusz Iorio. There you see, right in pursuit of Nikita Troitsky. And once more for Troitsky, there's the frustration of a great qualifying performance, maybe whittling away a little bit during the course of the race. So he now has Iorio beginning to loom large in his mirrors. Mateusz Iorio looking to bounce back into the points after the retirement yesterday. He's had one podium this season already. That was a third place finish in the first race of the year. Podium may be slightly unlikely, but more points, looking a little bit more promising. Out of Stavelot, on towards the left-hand swoop at Blanchimont. And Amir Vaidyanathan's responded very well to whatever Thiago Vivacqua was trying to throw at him, because Vaidyanathan has extended his third place advantage by a couple of tenths of a second. Scott hustles the car through the chicane. Starts his 8th lap of the race. Just 6 remaining. And RP Motorsport for so long, the standout team in the championship, and behind there's been a coming together. I think it's Pedro Cardoso and Alex Karkozic who are the two cars involved. Indeed it is. And well, they've been in close company all weekend, and Cardoso gesticulating furiously. I think he feels that a little bit of a push from the marshals might get him back underway. Hopefully that yellow flag isn't going to preempt a safety car as the leading group of cars run down the Kemmel Straight. Cardoso pushing his way. Karkozic steps out of the car, somewhat disconsolate and frustrating. The Polish driver finished 8th yesterday. So the order then is Harrison Scott leads the way. Devlin De Francesco second, as the safety car does indeed come out to respond to that mess over at the bus stop chicane. Here is how it happened. Cardoso to the inside of Karkozic. Karkozic gives him racing room, and the favour maybe not returned on the exit. They argue over the same piece of asphalt, and the result, 2 damaged cars and the safety car. Slight entanglement, yet damaged suspension, no question for Karkozic. Cardoso gesticulating angrily before his accident's even finished. So the safety car on track, the order: Harrison Scott from Devlin De Francesco, then Amir Vaidyanathan, Thiago Vivacqua in 4th, 5th Nikita Troitsky, 6th is Mateusz Iorio, 7th Yanis Fitia, 8th Tarun Reddy, 9th Petru Florescu, and Alexei Chuklin now promoted up into 10th place in the second of the Fortec cars. So Scott, having done all that hard work, brings the field back together now. This is going to be absolutely fascinating when we do get underway with the run down the Kemmel Straight, because we've seen it's been offering such fantastic slipstreaming opportunities during the course of the day. And Scott will pick up the safety car as he comes around the source. Now hopefully this is just going to be a single lap behind the safety car. We are, in terms of time, in a very good position, so might get an extra lap credited to the race, and we should be able to complete all the laps before the clock ticks to 0. As Scott bunches the field up, Francesco just behind him, then Emir Weidenheithen. So this, an opportunity for Weidenheithen to make amends for that spin early on and potentially challenge for the lead of the race. That's what he's going to be looking to try and do. So that order outside the top 10, Simo Laaksonen is 11th, Eliseo Martinez Morono in 12th, Daniel Panenko 13th, Lodovico Larini 14th, Christian Hahn 15th. So it's been a good drive actually from Simo Laaksonen from the back of the grid. He's made up plenty of ground into 11th. He's just one overtaking move away from being in the points once more for the 3rd time this year. And Harrison Scott having certainly at the point stage came out looking set for victory. Again, it's going to be the run down the Kemmel Straight. This is what the drivers have all been worried about when they're bunched, is the toe effect, as we saw on the first lap of the race, just allows everybody to swamp the race leader. So waiting for confirmation that the safety car, so when the safety car is going to be coming in. It's just the cars of Cardoso and Karkozic which require retrieval. Here is another look at it. Cardoso, full advantage of the toe, darts the inside. Oh, it's Karkozic. Can't quite close the move. Karkozic sticking within the circuit boundaries. Not enough space for both of them. And there is the frustration. As Cardoso tipped into the spin, Karkozic damaging the suspension. So mixed emotions for the RP Motorsport team. Frustrating as well for Pedro Cardoso because he's been showing a great turn of speed this weekend. So we continue to run behind the safety car. Our commentary box doesn't quite afford a view over to the bus stop chicane to see the extent to which the recovery has been concluded. We're coming to the end of this 2nd sector on the laps. That's the point that it would be signal to the drivers as the lights come out on the safety car that we will be getting back to racing conditions. Fortec team watching on the pit wall. Great to have Fortec again well represented this weekend. One of the standout teams in Formula 3 racing over several seasons. Great deal of success in both British and European Formula 3 championships, coming into the Euroformula Open last season and continuing this year. A full campaign for Yanis Fitcher, Lexi Chuklin stepping in this weekend, and Chuklin, who we saw doing a full season a few years ago with the Emilio de Villota Motorsport team. We also saw him in a Corbetta Competizione car, the Red Bull Ring, not too long ago. Chuklin up into the points on his return to the full championship. He did race in the Winter Series with Fortec earlier on in the winter as well. So we are going to get another lap here behind the safety car as they all navigate the bus stop chicane, and that means that the race clock is going to continue to tick downwards, because I expect we're looking at something in the region of about a 4-minute lap it was behind the safety car. We've got 12 minutes left on the clock, so if this is the last lap behind the safety car, it means that we'll have 8 minutes of racing when we do get underway, which will give us time for 4 more laps or so. Just saw a glimpse on the ones there of the BVM team. Their driver Daniel Pranenko currently in 14th, but for Pranenko has had a pretty torrid start to the season. Chance of maybe getting into the points is a good one for him. BVM always fielding a very, very well sorted car, as the recovery truck is over at the pit entry. So hopefully this will be our last lap behind the safety car, and then we will be, yes it is, so the confirmation the safety car will be in on this lap, and then we'll be racing once more. It's going to be that charge on the restart Harrison Scott, one of the more experienced drivers at this level within the field, having done a couple of seasons in the Formula Renault Euro Cup and also having raced in the British Formula Ford Championship before then. Driver behind him, Devlin De Francesco, a graduate 17-year-old Canadian straight out of British Formula 4, having previously raced in the Ginetta Junior Championship. Then Amaya Weidenathan, the only driver in the field who had a full season in the Euroformula Open last year, learning the tracks, learning the cars, and that is paying dividends to him immediately in the opening events of 2017. See the number 3 car, Simo Laxton, just behind him, Eliseo Morono, and there's Daniel Pranenko, BVM driver we were referring to earlier on. Pranenko, again, we saw on and off last season in the Euroformula Open, and Russian driver, another who stepped out of Formula Renault 2-litre racing. So the safety car's possibly elevated its pace a little bit on this lap, and you can see Harrison Scott closing onto his tail. I can say as the safety car came past the commentary box, it was going at a very high speed for a road car, but it just gives you a sense of the performance of these Euroformula Open cars. Well, this is the first weekend of a busy period for the Euroformula Open, because we have got the next meeting of the season in just a fortnight's time, the 10th and 11th of June at Paul Ricard, down the south of France, and then the first weekend of July, just 3 weekends later, we're off to the Hungaroring, returning to the Euroformula Open schedule after a couple of years' absence. Again, another Formula One circuit for these drivers to cut their teeth on, and that would then take us into the summer break. So, fairly intensive period of racing to come. So now Harrison Scott backs off the pace and leads the field. Judgment call as to when he pulls the pin. How well it's anticipated from De Francesco and Weidenathan. Nicky from the RP Motorsport team watching on, not to imagine proffering any instruction to Scott, just letting the British driver make the call for himself as to when he releases the field. Carlin team watching anxiously as De Francesco runs right with Harrison Scott, and Scott needs a good exit here through the bus stop chicane, because De Francesco and Weidenathan have gone with him. As away we go then. 8 1/4 minutes left on the clock as we go racing once more. I think we're going to have time for 4 more laps as Harrison Scott leads the train of cars into La Source. It's the 11th lap of the race as they swing through the hairpin and then steeply downhill. Is De Francesco going to be close enough to challenge Scott? He might be. And Weidenathan might be close enough to challenge his teammate as well. It's warm enough. I can't imagine any heat's really come out of the tyres as they power through Eau Rouge up over the crest at Raidillon now. This is where the advantage of the toe may come into force. It certainly looks like it will for Nikita Troitsky. He's behind Thiago Vivacqua as Troitsky darts and ducks. The same for Harrison Scott. He covers the inside line. De Francesco and Weidenathan both line up behind him. And so no change in the top 3 places. No change for 4th either. Troitsky has to take evasive action. So does Tarun Reddy. Neither of them, of course, gaining any advantage from that. And it's now the challenge for 2nd place as De Francesco immediately has got Weidenathan in his tail. It gives Harrison Scott in the lead of the race a little bit of breathing space as they run downhill through the first of the trio of left-handers. Simo Laxton applying the pressure to Alexei Chuklin as well. Into Pouon. They use the camber of the road to feed them through. True Florescu closing up onto the tail, Tarun Reddy. So there you see 2 laps added to race distance, but in reality I think we're going to be reverting to time. And this has been an excellent restart to the race from Harrison Scott. It's also been a very good lap from Thiago Vivacqua, and Vivacqua might be in with a chance of threatening Amaya Weidenathan, if not into the bus stop chicane, then certainly to Les Combes. Here is a look, Ludovico Laurini, around he goes further down the order, and that is going to demote him all the way to 15th. So unfortunate for the RP Motorsport driver. Meanwhile, Vivacqua closing up onto Weidenathan. Weidenathan chasing Devlin De Francesco across the line. 6 minutes to run. Harrison Scott's lead, 1.5 seconds over Devlin De Francesco, but it's this fight for second, third and fourth, which is going to be the one to watch as they head out of Radyant down the Kemmel Straight. Also, Mateusz Jorio might have a run at Nikita Troitsky as well. And Vivacqua very well positioned here to challenge Weidenathan. Thiago Vivacqua nice and tight through Eau Rouge out of Radyant. He's got the toe behind the Indian. Now Weidenathan, it all becomes about where does he place the car. Now he moves across, covers the inside line. Vivacqua anticipates it, draws alongside the Indian. Hard to see from this angle. It looks as if the Brazilian's got his nose just in front. Indeed he does, and Thiago Vivacqua moves through into third place. The classic Spa pass, and he's pulled it off absolutely beautifully. Nikita Troitsky still retaining that fifth position. And this is always the challenge of a safety car. Weidenathan, prior to the safety car coming out, was looking pretty secure in that third position. Now he's been shuffled off the podium. Meanwhile, disappointment, unfortunately, for Eliseo Martinez Morono. Damaged front nose cone. Can't quite see what caused it, but the effect is trip back into the pit box. Running very wide, that is Tarun Reddy through Puot, as Petru Florescu needs no second invitation. And immediately Reddy has then got Simo Laaksonen in pursuit as well. The Finnish driver having moved clear of Alexei Chuklin. In terms of the rookie race, by the way, it's De Francesco who leads that from Troitsky and Janis Vicia. Florescu currently the fourth of the rookies and eighth, and doing battle with Tarun Reddy. Such an exhilarating section of circuit as they blast out of Stavelot through Blanchimont. Now, Thiago Vivacqua is going to be asking all the right questions here of Devlin De Francesco. Oh, and this would explain what went wrong for Eliseo Martinez Morono. The front nose cone damaged at the point at which we see it. Certainly that lack of front downforce could easily explain why he spun. Into the penultimate lap of the race. Harrison Scott, 1.7 seconds clear. He is looking well on course for a third win of the year. Now, where is Thiago Vivacqua? There is Vivacqua. It's about 3 car lengths adrift to Francesco as they grind through the compression at the bottom of Eau Rouge, climb out of Radyant onto the Kemmel Straight. Vicia trying to challenge Jorio. Vivacqua not as close to De Francesco as he was when we last saw them at the bus stop chicane, and it means the Brazilian can't do anything about the Canadian this time around. He's only going to get one more shot into Les Combes, which is really the best overtaking point on the circuit for these Euroformula Open cars. Notwithstanding that breathtaking move earlier on in the race from Harrison Scott around the outside at Blanchimont. And Vivacqua trying to close in. He's in the turbulent air behind Devlin De Francesco. De Francesco, likewise, knows that if he sticks to the racing line, puts all the hard work onto Vivacqua's shoulders, then it's not going to be too easy for the Brazilian to pick his way past. Meanwhile, Janis Vicia looking to try and reclaim that 6th place from Mateusz Jorio. Gets to within the car length under braking into Fagna. Swings right, then left. Road still falling away in towards Stavelot. Tarun Reddy likewise under a fair amount of pressure from Simo Laaksonen. Petru Florescu. Tarun Reddy part of that group. Jorio looking to chase down Troitsky through Blanchimont towards the bus stop chicane. I don't think he is quite close enough to challenge. Again, the braking distance compresses the gap between the cars. Laaksonen certainly forcing Tarun Reddy slightly offline as they go into the final lap of the race. It's been an excellent race, this, for the Euroformula Open cars. Plenty of overtaking. And are we going to see one last twist in the tail? Any more moves between now and the flag. It's not looking particularly likely amongst the top three. But the fight for fifth looking eminently changeable. So De Francesco comes out of Eau Rouge. Vivacqua not close enough. And I'm not sure Weidenheithen is near enough to Thiago Vivacqua. I think the toe is going to bring him maybe alongside into the braking zone, but not quite enough to wrestle that third place away. Meanwhile, in the background, Mateusz Iorio looks to the inside and Nikita Troitsky. Weidenheithen shows to the inside, can't do anything. Iorio demotes Troitsky as Florescu and Reddy run side by side, and Taru and Reddy to the outside of Petru Florescu. And Reddy makes the decision to go straight on at Lecom. I think he has to give the position back to the Romanian. And Reddy does just that, backs off the throttle. It does give Simo Laaksonen the opportunity to challenge. But Reddy did just enough to maintain his place, still keeping the pressure on to Petru Florescu. Out front, Harrison Scott still leads. He's 1.6 seconds clear of De Francesco as Laaksonen looks to challenge Reddy. This is the last couple of places inside the top 10. It's the race leader Harrison Scott just a few corners from home. He didn't win yesterday, but he's going to have finished first or second in every single race of the season so far. The RP Motorsport driver accelerates towards Blanchimont for the final time of asking. Some superb racecraft from Harrison Scott this afternoon. Being very, very brave when he needs to be, playing the long game tactically, managing that restart to perfection as Scott gets onto the brakes, snicks down through the gears, turns through the chicane. The checker flag is ready and waiting, and it's going to be a third Euroformula Open win of the season for Harrison Scott. He celebrates in Belgium, second place and top rookie to Devlin De Francesco. Thiago Vivacqua in third, Mayor Weidenheithen in fourth. Mateusz Iorio takes fifth from Nikita Troitsky and Janusz Fitia, the latter two completing the rookie podium. Petru Florescu into eighth, Taru Reddy in ninth, and Alexei Chuklin rounds out the top 10 because we've lost Simo Laaksonen somewhere on the last lap. It's a disappointment for the Finnish driver. And here is what happened. Laaksonen just trying a little bit too hard coming out of Fania. Ooh, crunching into the tyre wall. And in the event, doing a fair amount of damage to his Campos car. So an excellent race. And one that once more sees Harrison Scott heading to the top step of the rostrum. So look then at the final classification. Victory and fastest lap to Harrison Scott. Devlin De Francesco, top rookie, an excellent drive to second, with Thiago Vivacqua completing the podium. Three different teams represented. Then the Mayor Weidenheithen in fourth, Mateusz Iorio in fifth, Nikita Troitsky, the second rookie, ahead of Janusz Fitia. And Daniel Panenko, a season's best 11th, just clear of Christian Hahn. Simo Laaksonen, disappointment of retiring late on, with Eliseo Martinez Morono, Alex Karkozic, Pedro Cardoso falling by the wayside. So in terms of the championship then, Harrison Scott, extensive advantage over Weidenheithen and De Francesco. Harrison Scott really had to work hard for that one. Superb race. Not unsurprisingly, he is all smiles as a result. Devlin De Francesco, again, his season's best result in the Carling kart. 2 trips to the outright race podium this weekend and 2 rookie victories as well.
Yeah. Two chances to practice again.
If you don't, ask the lady to do it for you.
Scott, a quiet, entertaining afternoon in Spa.
Yes, definitely. Obviously, after the morning, qualifying didn't quite go to plan. Obviously, starting P6, but yeah, the race was just absolutely fantastic. he didn't make the best of starts. I think I dropped back to 7th, and then yeah, just worked my way through. And once I got into the lead, I had such a great car underneath me. I was able to pull a gap. And unfortunately, safety car come out, so I was screwing a little bit because I thought obviously the slipstream's so big here that yeah, that the guys are just gonna I'm gonna be an easy target for them. But no, I made a fantastic restart, kept the lead going up into turn 5, and yeah, from then managed to just control the race. So no, very, very good job.
And it looks pretty nice in the championship too.
Yes, definitely. Obviously, the race yesterday wasn't quite what we wanted. We wanted obviously to win, starting from pole, but yeah, we struggled a little bit with the car and the setup. But I have to say, RP Motorsport worked so hard last night and this morning in making the car a lot better in the race. And yeah, it was just, the car was faultless then, and obviously to get the win was just well worth it.
Well done. All the best.
Let's take a look back then at the very best of what was an excellent 4th race of the season. Nikita Troitsky leading away from pole position as Amir Vaidanathan tried to jump the Russian as they arrived into La Source for the first time. It was all a little bit busy, but they all managed to find their way through. For around the first lap, Petru Florescu sliding wide to the front of the field. It was a battle between the Carlin drivers, Vaidanathan and De Francesco. This fantastic move from Harrison Scott and Yannick Fitcher around the outside at Blanchimont. Absolutely breathtaking manoeuvre, and one that showed that Scott was determined to fight his way through the field. This was a moment where the race turned, certainly for Vaidanathan, side by side with De Francesco and the Canadian, able to sweep through into the lead. It promoted Scott into 2nd and Troitsky to 3rd. Then we had a coming together between Pedro Cardoso and Alex Karkozik. 2 cars into space big enough for one. Doesn't quite go. The answer was damage and a safety car. When we got going, Ludovico Laurini spinning away his chances. Scott was able to manage the restart absolutely magnificently and broke away to come through and claim his 3rd victory of the season. Devlin De Francesco finishing 2nd, and top rookie with Thiago Vivacqua rounding out the podium, having made a late move on Amir Vaidanathan. Vaidanathan himself finishing in 4th with Mateus Yorio and Nikita Troitsky. So more to celebrate for Harrison Scott. And on to the rostrum. So 3rd place for Vivacqua, runner-up De Francesco, and race winner Harrison Scott for RP Motorsport. National anthem completed. On to the presentation of the trophies. Really good drive as well from Thiago Vivacqua. Fighting performance as he carved his way up through the pack. For Devlin De Francesco, his best weekend in the category. 3rd place yesterday, runner-up today. Rookie winner both times around for Carlin. And Harrison Scott continuing his magnificent start to the season. And he deservedly stands on the top step of the rostrum at Spa after a fantastic fighting performance from 6th on the grid to take victory. And the action will reconvene, of course, on the 10th and 11th of June at the Paul Ricard circuit down in the south of France. For now, though, a chance to celebrate on the Spa rostrum with the bubbly. 3 drivers who can richly deserve to celebrate after some fantastic performances over the course of the weekend. Turn our attention now to the rookie rostrum, with winner being Devlin De Francesco, runner-up Nikita Troitsky, and then Yannick Fitcher completing the rookie podium with 7th place overall finish. So more to cheer for the Carlin Motorsport squad. National anthems completed. Time to move on to the trophies. So third place for Yannick Fitcher, a really hard-fought drive for him. For Nikita Troitsky, 6th place overall. Maybe a little bit disappointing for the Russian, having started on pole position, but he was the victim of the strong toe on a couple of occasions. Nonetheless, a very solid weekend for Troitsky. 2 solid points finishes. There's Francesco celebrating in Spa. It's been an excellent weekend of racing here in Belgium, and we don't have to wait too long before we go racing once more. The 10th, 11th of June in Paul Ricard. We will see you there. Until then, from Ben Evans here in Belgium, it's goodbye.